The darkest moments in TV history. Let's do it. No, chat, buckle in, buckle in. Yo, I'm scared, I'm scared.
Saturday, May 11th, 1985. A
Yo, I'm
soccer
actually
match is
scared,
underway
bro.
in Bradford, West Yorkshire, England, between the visiting team Lincoln City and the home team Bradford City, a group riding the high of having just won their divisional championship in the week prior. This was the season finale for the club, one last match for the team and the fans to cap off what was otherwise a historic run. However, it wasn't just the season that this game would mark the end of. At the time, Bradford City played their matches at a site called Valley
Bro, like,
Parade
why is
Stadium,
Nick Crowley's
with the
videos,
facilities
like,
growing a reputation
they're so,
around the
like,
league as being
scary,
incredibly
bro.
outdated,
Like,
and
they're
to
made
many,
to look
downright
scary.
neglected. The awnings that stretched over the fans were made of old rotted wood, while underneath the stands were heaps of old trash that would pile up all throughout the season and rarely, if ever, be cleaned. The whole place was a mess, and the city knew it too, which eventually led to their decision to just rebuild the stadium completely, with plans being set to tear the whole thing down soon after the game would end. But as it turns out, fate wasn't willing to wait quite that long. Within the stands, a spectator was watching on, enjoying a cigarette, taking one last
Yeah, the
drag
sniper,
before flicking
didn't
it
he?
out of his hands. I still
Oh my
locked intently
God.
on the game, failing to notice that the cigarette butt had slipped through the floorboards of the bleacher and landed on the ground below. This almost immediately caused a small fire to break out, which was noted by the commentator John Helm.
Oh, and then the stadium all below just went on fire in it. Raw. Raw.
Despite the cigarette only being dropped a minute or so before, the fire was already visible from the stands, as within
Man
that
said
old
one little
stadium
cigarette,
was the
you know.
perfect makings of a disaster. When that cigarette fell to the ground, it didn't
What
just
is
land
up in my
on the
chair?
grass,
It does not
because
feel
the grass
comfy.
was likely not even visible at that point.
Yo,
it was
low
buried
key.
under mounds and mounds
How
of
would
garbage,
my chair be
garbage that
without
acted as the
this?
perfect kindling for the blaze. And that wasn't all. Remember, one of the main
Kinda
sticking
messing with
points
my
of the
posture,
rebuild
no?
was the fact that the awnings that reached above the fans were made entirely of that old wood, meaning that you had heaps of kindling, tons of wood, and now a spark, with the final fatal factor being that it was a windy day. It was the perfect storm, and the results were devastating.
What happened?
These quite astonishing scenes, and I've just seen the police leading a couple of people out of the
1 minute there. Holy.
having to leave the pitch, and obviously they're back in the tunnels. The
2 minutes later.
tremendous.
Yo!
The black ball of smoke
One little cigarette. Are you serious?
hundreds of feet in the air.
What?
It took approximately 3 minutes for that small fire
One
to
little
engulf
cigarette.
the entirety of the stands, as the black smoke billowed into the sky and the crowd
Oh.
desperately rushed to the field to get away
That was
from
like
the heat.
lava.
And the whole place is scorching.
Holy.
Having a new ground at Valley Parade, they might soon have to have one, because this is the day that Valley Parade Football Club, the football ground, is burning down.
The footage is
Nah,
highly
this is
disturbing,
insane.
so much so that I can't show the entire thing. But during this time, however, a radio broadcast was on air, with the audio giving us a good idea of just how chaotic the scene was and the moments when the blaze really erupted.
And we're on fire here at Valley Parade. The whole end of the stand at one side is actually in flames now. I can see the orange of the flames. The game is actually stopped here at Valley Parade. And people are running around. They're running around beside us. They're running around all around us. And people are saying, get onto that pitch. The whole stand is on fire, Tony. It's an absolute, it's spreading quickly. There's going to be...
So you're telling me a fire's happening and their thought process is to go on the pitch that's also grass and is flammable. Are these guys tapped?
problems, Tony. Let's get all those people out of there. Let's get those people. Just take your time. Don't rush. Don't push. Wait for the kiddies. People are coming round this. You can hear the heat, the smoke coming everywhere. We are going to have to disconnect very shortly because it really is flaming all the time. We're taking a break. We're getting out of here.
In the stands that day were approximately 6,000 people, and based on the footage, many
I wonder
of
what
whom
the
were
guy
able
that
to run
dropped
to
his
safety
cigarette
very
thinks.
quickly, which gave a sense of hope
Yo,
that the
Skadass.
ordeal might end in minimal casualties. Though there was another side of things. Those who chose not to run towards the field opted to go the opposite way, as there was an entrance and exit located directly behind the stands where the fire had started. And when the crowd managed to make their way to this exit, they were met with a disturbing revelation.
You have to realize that after the Columbine shooting, there was even people faking. So this shouldn't shock you.
The gates were shut, and those that were open or busted open were also blocked by slow-moving turnstiles, some of which being locked themselves. And as the crowd began pushing more and more to get through these turnstiles, it in turn led to a crush of humanity, with everyone piling on top of one another as the fire slowly consumed them.
Nah, that is mad. All this over one cigarette is actually
When
insane.
the smoke cleared and the bodies were counted, 56 had tragically lost their lives, while another 265 were left with serious injuries, with the tragedy leading to numerous new safety standards for soccer stadiums across the country, as Valley Parade's notoriously bad reputation had finally caught up with it on its very last day of operation, marking one of the deadliest days in the world of soccer, and one of the darkest moments in television history.
Nah, even I don't know what you're talking about, I'm be
Bodies
honest.
are being dragged away from that stand.
That recorded the man's actions as he was taping a special program.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
But what's this guy talking about?
Before we dive into our next case here, I want to first thank today's sponsor, Aura, for helping to make content like this financially viable. It seems that in this day and age of technology, there are people lurking around every corner looking.
Hey kids and parents, get
Aura? What's Aura?
you remember when
Oh, like the ad in it.
back again.
Yeah, me
The world of
neither.
television is no stranger to
Wait.
death-defying stunts. From the very beginning of broadcasting, viewers have been captivated by the sight of people risking their lives.
Yo, what's this guy talking about? What the hell is this guy talking about? Yo, is this his first time messaging? 31 messages. Zesty ass guy, 10-year-old, you look like this. Disgusting, yeah. Hey, bro, he always spells the or they with TEH instead of THE. Actually,
to pull off these seemingly impossible
Yeah, I don't know,
spectacles. But while most of these performances are done by trained professionals, perhaps one of the strangest television stunts ever performed was one done by a man with hardly any training at all. Adelir Antonio de Carli.
look at this squad.
Born in
Where?
Pelotas, Brazil, Adelir felt a calling early in his life to dedicate himself to God. This eventually led to him becoming a Catholic priest, where he developed a deep connection with those in his community. To many, Adelir was considered a man of the people, someone who had a passion for religion and a goal to make it accessible to as many people as possible, which is where he developed the idea for his most infamous project. Near his home in Brazil was a popular port city named Paranagua, which saw the import and export of a vast array of goods, making it a central hub for truckers to drive to and from on a regular basis.
Why did you
But
DM
Adelir
me?
began to realize that for these truckers, the vast majority
I don't
of
see
their
any
lives
messages
were
from you.
lived on the road, and this rarely, if ever, allowed them to practice their religion. This revelation inspired Adelir to start putting together plans to build a chapel at a trucker's rest stop right in Paranagua, which would allow for drivers to stop and worship while on the road. In theory, this seemed like a great idea, and one that the community could easily rally behind, though there was just one issue: the money. Building a chapel and maintaining it was not going to be cheap, and far exceeded what was possible with just his salary.
I'm
making
not
the whole
reacting
thing
to
seem like more of a
TikToks.
dream than anything, unless he could somehow find a way to raise the funds, which is when
Bro,
he
I'm not
had
reacting to
the idea.
TikToks, man.
He was going to create a public spectacle, one where he would attach himself to hundreds of helium-filled balloons and take off into the sky in a process known as balloon clustering.
Nah.
Believe it or not, this was actually a
Bro,
summer-
there's no way guys are trying to fly, bro. Like, how hard is it just stay on the ground or just... If you want to go in the sky, then use a plane, innit?
somewhat well-known stunt at the time, as popularized by a man named John Ninomiya, whose footage was shown on numerous television stations a few years prior in 2006. And perhaps having been inspired by this, Adelier viewed the stunt as the perfect opportunity to fund his chapel, with his plan being to break the world record of 19 hours in the air, and in doing so,
Oh! 19 hours in the air like that? Yeah, you've lost your mind.
use the publicity to gather donations.
You've
But the
lost
only
your
problem
mind.
was, he had no experience whatsoever. He had gone skydiving numerous times before though, and he believed that his familiarity with that would help him to break the record in no time.
Yeah,
And
he's
so,
lost his
on
mind.
January 13th, 2008, in the city of Umpere, Brazil, over 600 balloons were filled with helium and attached to a chair, which Adelier was then strapped to. He
Bro,
began to lift off
what
the
if
ground,
the balloon
quickly floating
pops,
high in
man?
the sky, as the news cameras were there to film it all. The flight saw him travel roughly 17 miles and reach an altitude of 17,000 feet, highlighting just how dangerous of a stunt this really was. But despite his lack of experience, after around 4 hours, he would touch down safely in Argentina, marking the end of his first successful flight. It was a promising start and inspired Adelier to continue planning and prepping for his next attempt, which he resoundingly told people would break the world record. In preparation for doing so, he took part in various jungle survival training exercises and even took up mountain climbing.
But even
as he
someone
knew he
like
would be flying
Bear
over
Grylls
remote
wouldn't do
regions,
this,
which
bro.
left him at risk of being stranded.
Rory got a headset then. Brother, what? No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't, bro. What the hell?
Stranded somewhere in the wilderness. To further aid in this, Adelier would also have a satellite phone and a
I was
GPS,
joking.
which he
He
would use
calls
in
our
tandem to help
heads
track his
big.
location and call for assistance should things go awry.
Yeah, fat ass
It seemed that
forehead.
Adelier
Cry
was
about
ready
it.
for anything.
Solo
But on April
duos
20th,
making me so good.
2008,
Yeah,
as a
real.
crowd gathered around to see this man attempt
I had to
this
see that in
record,
action.
the weather began to take a turn for
You don't have
the
enough
worse.
air. You
During
don't have
his
enough
first
hair
flight,
to
the
show it
skies were sunny
anyways.
and the winds were calm, but on this day it was gloomy.
Is there
and the
supposed to
rain
be
was
a
falling
dent in your
hard
head?
off and on, putting the whole stunt in jeopardy. But Adelier remained
Ah,
confident,
Charlie,
boasting
stop
that thanks to
crying,
God he would
bro.
have perfect weather when he was on his flight.
Porque
Yeah,
eu vou subir
pre-leaf
acima dela.
shoe.
10 minutos eu ultrapasso ela. E depois vou
Yo,
voar sempre
cry
pelo trem.
about
And despite some
your
trying to convince him to
black
push
ass,
things back,
big
he knew
ass
that the crowd was
forehead,
there
bro.
for him. And this was his chance to secure funding for his dream project.
Com essa quantidade de balões, o padre deve viajar a cerca de 5 mil metros de altitude. Com ele lá em cima, vão estar ainda um telefone celular
Yo,
por
black,
satélite, GPS.
Don't care
Chegando
the
ao lado
black
do Mato
is.
Grosso do Sul. O tempo estava fechado, mas o padre insistiu em voar.
Era 1 da tarde quando ele subiu, levado
You
por 1000
lanky
balões de gás
skinwalker.
colorido.
Alright.
Recorde.
And with that, he was off, soaring quickly into the sky where he eventually disappeared into those thick rain clouds. For essentially all of his flight, those clouds made it practically impossible to see the man,
See anything,
which was
yeah,
further
yeah.
exasperated by the fact that this time he had used
Did my man go
1,000
above them
balloons as opposed to
clouds?
600, which brought him to an even higher elevation, this time touching almost 20,000 feet. But just because he was out of
What?
sight, that didn't mean that we couldn't hear from him, as he would soon call down to a local news station to
Nah,
share
for
a
real.
somewhat concerning
My man's got
update.
chairs and balloonies above the clouds. What the hell?
Me ensina a operar esse GPS aqui para dar as coordenadas pela altitude e longitude, que é a única forma que alguém opera pode saber onde eu estou.
Despite dedicating countless hours of training before the flight,
He's
there was
cooked.
one thing that Adelier had failed to prepare for: the GPS, as he was never shown how the device actually worked, and he only
Say
realized
swear.
that he had no idea how to operate it once he was already at his peak altitude, meaning that he was essentially flying blind.
Lost.
The course he had set out on was set to see him travel 400 miles inland to a city named Dorados, and by his prior
Yeah, long day,
calculations,
never
the wind
seen
should
again.
have still been taking him at the
My
very
man
least
probably
in that
landed on the
direction,
seas of
which for
Madagascar
a
or
moment
something,
gave
I
him a
don't know.
sense of calm, as he trusted the preparation even
Nah.
if he didn't know his
I chat. What you guys doing? You wake up in the morning, you look out your window, you see a guy flying in a chair with 600 balloons. bro, I'm thinking I'm dead. I'm thinking I'm already in heaven, fam.
But after a few hours, as the
I'm
moon
living in
began
some
to
simulation,
rise,
I don't know.
so too did the panic within Adelier, as he caught a glimpse of a strange sight on the horizon. The ocean. Somehow, the wind had done
yeah,
a
for real,
complete
like, you know, like in
180 and had
Fortnite when
blown
like
him
the
in the
balloons,
exact opposite
you know,
direction that he had
like,
prepared
part.
for. And
It's
before
the
he knew it,
opposite
he was
direction.
flying directly over the sea, with no way of stopping himself or even slowing himself down, as he was now flying alone into pitch blackness.
What was that sound?
Adelier called
Probably
his
this.
team and requested they send rescue, but there was no way to give his exact location, and by this point, he was already nearly 40 miles out to sea. After being just 8 hours into his 20-hour flight, the ground team would lose contact with Adelier after receiving a message from him begging for his rescue, and he would never be heard from again.
That brings the same full damage, yo.
Up,
Nah,
and
it's
away.
not funny though.
A Catholic priest trying to break
No way, man. No way CNN saying up and away. Nah, these guys. Oh, my.
party balloons vanishes into thin air.
The subsequent search for Adelier was broadcast heavily all across the world, with the media dubbing him as the Balloon Priest. And after nearly 9 days of searching, the only sign of the man was his balloons. They were found detached and floating in the ocean, with there being no sign of the priest whatsoever, leaving his fate as a total mystery.
Huh?
At least at the time.
Oh.
On July
So what
4th,
happened to him?
2008, a tugboat sailing off the coast of Mackay near an
Oh, he's
offshore
dead.
oil rig would spot something floating in the water, and upon closer inspection, it would be identified as a body. Or at least part of one, given all that remained was the subject's lower half.
Lower half?
Upon DNA testing, it was confirmed that it did in fact belong to Adelier Antonio de
He got eaten by a shark.
Carli, who likely crashed into the water and drowned, only to be picked away at by various predators of the ocean, thus ending the Balloon Priest's saga in a
Nah,
tragic,
Rxzz
yet
wildin'.
for many, unsurprising manner.
Yeah, R.I.P. for real.
Night is the most dangerous time for pedestrians along streets and highways. To be on the safe side, walk facing traffic and wear light-colored clothing
We
for quicker
bull is
recognition
crazy.
by approaching drivers.
Hey, what's it called? What to do when stranded on the road.
A car with somebody, you're at their mercy.
If your car should become disabled, the rule of thumb,
I don't like the way it's bouncing from this ear to that ear. It's
stay
scary.
inside. There are signs you can get to put on the back window to summon for help.
It was the waning days of 1986. News station NBC7 San Diego records and broadcasts a PSA segment about safety on the roads, and specifically what to do if your car breaks down at night. This may seem like a fairly random topic, but for residents of San Diego, fears were rising over just how safe their highways were, as just a few days prior, a 20-year-old college student named Kara Knott had gone missing, only for her car to be found pulled over onto the shoulder of a tall bridge, where underneath, police would find her body, having been strangled brutally and tossed over the side to the ground below. Understandably, residents were concerned, with many assuming that she had ran into car troubles and likely exited her vehicle to get help, only to be kidnapped and killed by a nearby motorist. And due to this, NBC7 thought the segment would be effective in educating those out there, in the hopes of avoiding another situation like Kara's, especially considering at this point, her killer was still somewhere out there. For the video, they even had a highway patrol officer come out to share his tips.
Being a female, you could be raped, robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed. Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
As well as a man whose car had broken down when the—
What country is Malta in? And then watch Malta be a country, I swear. Fuck. Malta. Oh, this place looks so nice. Holy. Yo. This is like a Warzone map. Oh my days, it's Warzone. Yo, nah, these think it's a Warzone map. Imagine landing in. Oh. Former Irish soldier shot dead at. Oh yeah, GG's, Ray, GG's. Yo, close your windows.
They were filming.
Do you realize how dangerous it is?
Yes, I realize. In fact, I was putting gas in,
Slovenia.
Overall, the segment appeared relatively harmless, with the main messaging being to contact authorities.
Luxembourg clear. This just looks like the UK but clean. Oh, I would move here, you know. It looks like the UK but like more Harry Potter.
authorities and wait for their assistance rather than trusting
And more as
strangers.
McDonald's have.
But still, this did little to calm the public's nerves as paranoia rippled through the community.
That's
and
a
speculation
pistachio.
began to run rampant
How do you even
on
say
who was
that?
responsible for Kara's death,
Pistachio.
which is when disturbing
McFlurries.
allegations began to emerge.
Can you look at the edit after the
Following
video?
this
I'll look at it right now, my boy. Oh, this is gonna be holy cap cuts. Oh, let's give it a look. Hold on. Blood built up like it was some trailer. Hold on. Damn. Damn. Nah, this fire though. W. Good shit. Oh, Charlie. Remember when you used to always edit that one clip? Where is it? Where the hell is it? This one. That cyborg clip. I ain't seen that. Oh, this. Wait, hold on. I got bored of editing. Bored of editing me or bored of editing in general?
Reports 24 separate women would come forward
Let's
to
go
share
down.
their bizarre encounters that they had had on that very same road in which Kara was found.
Ray, you made
The girls
K-pop
claimed that they were
edits.
pulled over
You
by
wanna
a
get
police
bored
officer
editing
who
me.
interrogated them in their cars for upwards
General,
of 2 hours. And the questions being asked
Nah,
during
editing's
this
fine.
weren't even relevant to the alleged violations they had committed.
Now you know why? You need to make an edit account and try and blow it up. And it should be a Rxzz edit account. And you should sorry.
Instead, they were more personal, sometimes even sexual, as if the man was trying to seduce them.
You had an edit
And it got
account?
stranger from there, as when
What,
looking
we
into that
edited
cop's
Kaiser
work
that?
record,
Oh,
it was
yeah,
discovered
no.
that he was on patrol the night in which Kara had gone missing, and he just so happened to be working that very same stretch of highway. And making things even more concerning was the fact that underneath Kara's fingernails...
No. You had... No, I'm about to expose her. Charlie had a Charlie D'Amelio edit account. Oh, actually, no. VX Charlie is for like... Probably like video effects, I don't know.
were traces of what appeared to be fabric that matched the material used to make police uniforms. And hidden in the officer's trunk was heavy rope, with it eventually being revealed that Kara had rope marks
Just
around
post
her
the edit,
neck,
W.
implying that that's how she was killed.
Just
What
got
does
ignored
make
on the
these
TikTok
accounts so
GGs.
important and
Do I need to put on screen like reading Twitch chat only? Wait, I'll put it on screen.
so relevant to the topic at hand was the fact that the officer being named by every single one of these women was a man named Craig Allen Pyre.
Spotting pedestrians at night is difficult, particularly.
And once you get into a car with somebody, you're at their mercy.
Because if you do decide to walk, the CHP says you never know who you may meet along the road.
Anything can happen.
Hold on.
The very same officer that was
It won't
shown
be
in the
on my
local
Twitch
news
screen.
report.
Just give me a second. Oh my god.
It would eventually be revealed that on December 27th, 1986, Craig Allen Pyre pulled over Kara Knott, flirted with her, raped her, strangled her, and then threw her body off a bridge. Only 2 days later, appear on this PSA and try and
Give me
teach
a
the
second,
public
chat. Give
how
me
to
a sec.
avoid being kidnapped and killed alongside of the highway.
All the way to.
Sorry guys, give me a second.
Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
If strangers should offer assistance, tell them to call police or the CHP.
Just stay in the vehicle, lock all the doors, turn on the emergency flashers, and wait for help to come.
Hold on.
It's so incredibly haunting to watch this segment back, especially considering
Oh
what
my
he's saying, knowing that
days.
he was quite literally the cause of the crime that inspired the segment to begin with.
Boom.
Just 2 weeks after the program aired, Officer Craig Pyre would be arrested.
Yeah, I
for the
know,
murder
David. I
of
just
Kara
fixed
Knott,
it.
where he
I
was
did
eventually
Gage an edit
sentenced to
account and
25
gave
years
up.
to
I
life in
give up
prison.
like after a week. What'd you expect? VX don't stand for shit. Rory got cheeks. What the?
Ontario, Canada. One of the most famous natural spectacles in the world.
Oh my God.
The man
Oh
on
my
the edge.
God.
Oh hell no!
Considered one of the most visually
What?
stunning locations in the United States and even across the world.
Is that
the
Niagara
three waterfalls
Falls?
that make up Niagara Falls offer a
Oh,
unique blend of beauty
that's
and
good geography.
violence,
That's good
making it
geography.
No wonder why tens of thousands of people visit the area every day just to take in the awe-inspiring views and that unbelievable rush of water. But on March 20th, 2003, as a typical crowd gathered to take their photos, their attention was captured by something far different than the scenery. Something that couldn't have been possible. It looked like a man in the water. Though he wasn't being swept over and he wasn't moving at all, he was just standing there at the very edge of the falls, staring off into oblivion.
What?
Police were immediately called to the scene as a panic arose, and within minutes, rescue crews would begin their work, along with a cameraman from a local news station.
What the how? Huh?
The footage shows what should have been an impossible scenario, as an unnamed 48-year-old man was standing at the edge of the most powerful waterfall on the planet, somehow staying balanced and remaining fully
What the
calm,
fuck?
despite being just 1 foot away from dropping over 180 feet to
Oh my god, it says reading TikTok chat. I'm so tapped.
certain death. Unsure of how the man had
Holy,
ended up in the water,
I'm
or
so
how it was even
tapped,
possible
aren't I?
for him to stay upright, rescue workers sprang into action with two men, Pop Moriarty and Gary Carella, sliding into the water and attempting to walk towards him. But even for them, the current was just too much, forcing them to almost immediately turn back, while the man yelled to them that he was losing his strength and to not let him go over. To aid in the rescue, a helicopter was sent.
What was this dickhead thinking? What was he thinking, this
to try and
man?
airlift the man up.
Oh, yeah.
But immediately, the force of the rotors began to create strong gusts of wind, leading to this. Now the man lay there, feet dangling over the edge of the falls, as the freezing cold water pelted him relentlessly. By this point, that man had already been in the water for over 1 hour, and his grip was slowly slipping. And so, in a last-ditch prayer, a rescue worker inside the helicopter.
How's my man standing in water, laying in water with all that pressure and wind, and isn't falling down into the what?
Decided to toss a life preserver, knowing that this would likely be their final shot at saving him. And miraculously,
bro,
the current caught it and brought it directly to him. With every bit of strength he had left, the man would let go of the rock he was clinging to and lunge towards the preserver, grabbing a hold of it as crews on shore began to pull him to safety. Or at least, they thought.
Bro,
As he was being towed to shore, the man approached what looked to be land, though in actuality, this was an ice shelf that extended out over the water, meaning that the black line you see here isn't actually land, but instead a small opening between the sheet of ice and the water itself. And within that small opening, the rapids were raging at tenfold due to the increased pressure of the small size. And so, while the man was being pulled towards rescue workers, he was almost immediately sucked underneath, pinning him in an immovable situation. Moriarty and Carella knew that they had to engage once again, or else the man was certainly going to drown, with their testimony later on showing just how dire the situation had become.
He just told us, let me go. He just gave up. He said, save yourselves, let me go.
I don't know.
But the rescue crews had come too far to just give up, and despite the pressure of the water becoming almost too much to bear, Carella slipped a harness around the man and gave the signal for the group to be lifted up.
Who's the guy that just dropped?
Somehow, they had all done the impossible, and with the victim now on solid ground, he was taken to a nearby hospital where
What was he thinking? What was he thinking?
Despite suffering from severe hypothermia,
Guess what? What's
he would
up?
go on to survive. making it one of the most incredible rescues ever shown on television. But with the victim now safe, it was time to figure out what exactly had happened. Well, apparently, the man had lost all of his money due to a crippling gambling addiction, even gambling away the last of his family's own cash.
That's what I'm saying. How did bro even get in that situation?
And he entered the water that day, hoping to make it his last. But as he drifted towards the edge, he suddenly had a change of heart and decided to fight for survival. And somehow, when trying to stop himself, his foot became lodged in between two rocks, which also aided in shielding him from the rushing current, allowing him not only to stay there, but to stand upright. It's unknown what happened to the man from here, as he's understandably never been named publicly, but I do hope he managed to find some peace and purpose, as his story is one of very few of this nature with a happy ending, especially within Niagara Falls, as the area has become a hotspot for attempts just like this, the vast majority of which sadly end successfully. And as it turns out, one such example of this was captured when the cameras happened to be rolling.
Frazier that recorded the man's actions as he was taping a special program with Phil Kavitz. It is Phil's voice you will hear on the tape.
Factories, hotels, and other buildings line the river.
As TV host Phil Kavitz is recording a program for the local nightly news in Buffalo, New York, he did so near the mouth of Niagara Falls, where the rapids are raging in a particularly fearsome manner. When suddenly...
Buildings line the river. Then Frederick Olmsted started a campaign to persuade...
Bomba clots!
Come running from the brush and leap directly into the water. For obvious reasons, I can't show what happens next, as the water begins to sweep the man towards the edge of the falls. But the audio alone is sufficient in showing just how traumatic the moment was for the news crews watching on.
Factories, hotels, and other buildings line the river. Then Frederick Olmsted started a campaign to persuade New York to buy the land.